Okay, let's round out part 6 of our making of Challenged in Turmoil of Trolls, our challenge mode in action. Alright, so we have finished the troop movement. I know the dialogue can be a lot, but really just focus on the variables, common events, and switches that we've turned on and off throughout the game that we've covered in the previous videos. So once that is done, let's go back into Albert's event, which it's easier to usually just quicker reference this. We can see that it's highlighted in the quick find menu. All right. So we have Albert defeated, and then we're going to see, does he have anything on him? We have some items that we're going to now have, a battle axe and a firestone. So the battle axe is pretty easy, but the firestone is something unique that we had to make. So, and then we turn control self switch C on, and yep, we see that Albert is out. Okay, real quick. First, we have items and weapons. So items, it's like we said, we changed the maximum and we added in this firestone. We've made it a key item right now because for the nature of challenge mode, we don't necessarily want that to be used or consumed accidentally by the RPG Maker system as we're planning it. We don't have any notes right now. We just have some uses and plans for it later. As for weapons, we just didn't change anything right now. We just left it to this battle axe type. Again, we haven't messed with the stats here because attack and stuff become irrelevant in challenge mode where one hit is enough to take you down. Alright, so how do we end up ending this event? Well, we have a portal that's going to appear right up here in the event we call World. How do we get to it? Let's look first at Michelle. So we have the dialogue and we have choices. The choices are just that, to make sure that they come in, and this is whether or not you're going to take an additional item that we're going to change the weapons by. So really, why do we have Michelle character as the one that you have to interact with? Well, because we know by design that Albert is going to appear and fall here based on the movement patterns we set. Casey's going to be here, so Michelle is the last in the logical order. It also just means that, you can go in. We could do this with a switch, but it works just as well to just let it be an event and check everything out to give the player the maximum amount of time they can. So following that, what do we have here for World? Well, again, until the world switch comes on, which if it was too fast in the Michelle event, we just did the control switches portal on. So do that if you're ever curious. Again, as a reminder, control switch, single, click in the box. And remember, these switches are just numbers that RPG Maker accepts, so we name them ourselves. So really it's switch 9, but we typed in World Portal. And as a reminder, if it's been a little bit long for the videos, just type in anything you need to. Just like that. Oops, almost messed that up. Okay. Now that we're here, we'll go into this event. So it starts off blank and below characters, making sure our characters can't run through it. It will auto run, but only to turn the self switch A being on. After that, we get a portal animation, and then we have our little trickster goddess laughing and saying some dialogue, and then just a little cutscene, basically animation. And then we turn the self switch on from here. Remember, in tab 3, we've made sure self switch B is corrected. So this is just a couple of ways to do it. Again, we're only using the base assets, so it's however visual you want it to look, how well you do. We just decided to make the character invisible upon some animation, fading out, letting the world transfer, fading him back in, and then showing some animation while we have the player in. Right now, we don't have... We kind of want the character to disappear, but we might want the character to only reappear with it. So let's edit this and just check wait for completion. That won't be in the current game files as of the publishing, but they might be in later versions. So just depending on when you're watching this video, just be aware of that. Now we see some dialogue here, but where does this put us? Okay, effectively we're now finally into map world 1. So we're going to appear here, and we are going to go ahead and start looking at this castle as our first stop. How do we get here? It's kind of the same way we did from here. We did challenged, and we just loaded sample map. Again, for those watching, we're only doing this because this game is supposed to be a good way to test, how the system can work without any additional add-ons. Our whole point is to make this something that you can do on your own without having to purchase anything additional. So we thought the base system would be there. As we go about our writing, our skills, whatever else we develop in here will all be made available and published so that you can at least follow along with what you're doing. All right, but we chose World 1. That looks good enough to be the main world. We'll play around and have fun with it as we go. But now that we're in here, we know that we're going to want to enter this castle town. So let's go ahead and let's look at what we're going to do with this. We're actually going to want to click on to World 1, right click, and then load sample map again. All right, we don't need to do any worlds, but let's look for a castle of some kind. We have a normal town, forest town, abandoned town. Really just collect and have fun with it. The whole point of this is more of a writing gameplay focus than it is about trying to design your fully fledged world. If you're ever going to publish your own game, sure, but what a great place to start, or just have fun with a hobby project like this. There we go. We have the castle right here. That's good enough, especially for the map and aesthetic. Okay, now we see that the castle is going to appear right down here, but look at the left screen from World 1. If we minimize it or add it, now the good news is the castle world is set for here. So when we are going to go in, we're going to want some ability for the character to walk on or interact with this. Right now, this castle is just going to be a prop or set piece. We do need to change it into its own event. So I am going to go ahead into the map. We can see that on tile B, this is an exact match, but we're going to need to change that for right now. So let's just go ahead, not worry too much about this right now, and leave that blank, because what we want to do is have this be an event. And we're going to call it Castle Equiparia for our dialogue. We're going to want to set it below characters, and the trigger should be the player touch. And we're going to, if that was too fast, we're going to click into image. And then we are going into this, scroll down to the bottom, tile set B, and we are going to set it. So there's only one place for the player to step right now, and that's fine. So we're going to do that. And then let's just go ahead and set the event. So I clicked in here, and and we are going to transfer player to castle. This looks like an exit, so let's just set the player to appear right here. Okay. Oops. That's where we want our event. Now we're going to go back into the map and finish this out. So we're going to go back into this B tile set. And we're going to add those in here as props. There. Now we have a nice moat, and the event will just show up. One last thing before we end this video. Let's check out right here at Castle. We're not going to set all the events quite yet, but let's look up on the event mode. We have a gate movement. That's for the action button, so that's going to kind of control all of them. We're just going to call that gate. Action button, we're going to transfer the player back to, let's say here. All right, we've got a good in and out and design before we make episode 2. Okay, we see here that our player is able to get in and out, and that gate is going to take up the entirety of the space. All right, everybody. For the last tutorial video for episode 7, we're going to look at how we went in and changed some of these character sheets up to make the imagery that we saw, where instead of just a fallen character, we've added, well, a little bit more effect to it. So we're going to show you some easy software editing in number 7. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Happy gaming.